3:47 a.m. Interstate 15, Nevada. A state trooper's flashlight cuts through the cab of a massive semi-truck. He expects a tired driver. Maybe paperwork issues. What he finds instead stops his heart. An empty driver's seat. Dashboard glowing. Steering wheel moving on its own. No human. No breath. Just the cold hum of a machine obeying commands from 2,000 miles away. But here's what makes your blood run cold. This isn't just one truck. It's the lead vehicle of a ghost convoy, 27 autonomous semi-trucks slicing through the darkness across 15 states, each one carrying enough synthetic death to paralyze entire cities. How do you stop a threat that has no face? How do you arrest a machine? Quick question before we dive in: have you ever been next to a driverless truck on the highway? Drop a yes or a no in the comments right now. Welcome to IC and FBI Files, where we expose the cases that redefine modern warfare against organized crime. This is the story they hoped you'd never hear. This is Operation Ghost Protocol. Hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to witness will change how you see every truck on the road. The routine stop that wasn't. Let me take you back 6 months earlier. July 19, 2024. 9:15 a.m. Interstate 35, Oklahoma. A Department of Transportation inspector pulls over what looks like a standard logistics truck for a weight compliance check. Company name on the side? Continental Logistics Group, America's 4th largest freight carrier. Clean safety record. Pristine paperwork. But when federal agents pop open that trailer, they don't just find a few kilos hidden in the cargo. They find 420 kilograms of pure cocaine. Stacked. Organized. Professional. Hidden behind legitimate pallets of retail electronics destined for Walmart distribution centers. Here's where it gets insane: the driver? Totally clean. No criminal record. No cartel connections. He didn't even know what he was hauling. So who loaded it? Who planned the route? Who was pulling the strings? The FBI's first assumption: isolated incident. One compromised warehouse. Maybe 2 corrupt employees. They were catastrophically wrong. The web unravels. Quick question for you: do you think most drug smuggling happens at the border or inside our own logistics networks? Comment your thoughts. As investigators traced the shipment backwards, they hit a wall. Then another. Then another. Every document was legitimate. Every signature verified. Every corporate entity registered and operational. But FBI financial analysts noticed something off. Continental Logistics Group had been quietly acquired 18 months earlier through a maze of shell companies, LLCs. Registered in Delaware, holding companies in Wyoming, offshore accounts in the Caymans. When they finally cracked through the layers, the truth was staggering. Continental Logistics was majority owned by a network tied to the Sinaloa Cartel. This wasn't infiltration. This was a hostile takeover of American infrastructure executed with corporate precision, not cartel violence. And here's the nightmare that kept federal agents up at night: if they could buy one major trucking company, how many others had they already compromised? The scale emerges. Over the next 90 days, the FBI deployed forensic accountants, cyber analysts, and undercover operatives across the company's network. What they discovered made the initial cocaine seizure look like pocket change. Out of Continental's 520 drivers, 97 were actively transporting narcotics. Not because they were criminals, because they'd been recruited into a system so sophisticated, they believed they were just earning performance bonuses for priority deliveries. But wait, it gets worse. Across 19 states, investigators identified 31 distribution warehouses that looked completely legitimate on the surface. During the day, normal operations. Forklifts. Inventory. Shipping manifests. At night? These facilities became cartel distribution hubs where methamphetamine, cocaine, and fentanyl were repackaged and routed into every major American city. The criminal architects had done something unprecedented: they'd turned America's own supply chain into a drug superhighway. Here's my question for you. Did you know that the biggest security threat to America might not be at the border, but in the trucks driving past your house every day? Let me know in the comments if this shocks you. Enter the ghost convoy. Now, remember that empty truck from the opening? Here's where this case goes from shocking to absolutely terrifying. March 3, 2025. 2:22 a.m. ICE cyber intelligence analysts detect an anomaly in commercial GPS data. 27 semi-trucks moving in perfect synchronization across the southwest, but when cross-referenced with driver hour logs, none of them should be on the road. Then the Arizona State Police stop one empty cab. No driver. Just an autonomous driving system receiving encrypted commands. The cartel had weaponized self-driving technology. These weren't modified consumer vehicles. These were commercial-grade autonomous trucks, each carrying 3.2 tons of fentanyl for a combined payload of 86 tons. Let me put that in perspective, that's enough. Synthetic opioid to deliver a lethal dose to every single person in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia. Combined. This wasn't drug trafficking anymore. This was a chemical weapons system on 18 wheels. Be honest in the comments, does this sound like science fiction to you, or does it terrify you that this is our reality now? The hunt goes digital. Inside the FBI's cyber Operations Center in Quantico, Virginia, the war shifted from highways to hard drives. The ghost convoy was being piloted remotely through a military-grade encrypted server network routed through shell servers in Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and West Africa. Each command bounced through 14 different proxy servers before reaching the trucks. The cartel's engineers weren't just smart. They were brilliant. And here's the tactical nightmare: if federal agents simply shut down the trucks remotely, the safety protocols could trigger catastrophic failures, locked brakes at 70 miles per hour, disabled steering in tunnels, jackknifed trailers in urban traffic. They couldn't just stop the machines. They had to hijack them. For 11 hours straight, FBI cyber tactical teams worked to breach the system without triggering alarms. One analyst described it as defusing 27 nuclear bombs while the timer keeps resetting itself. Then, at 4:47 a.m., they found it, a single overlooked data packet, transmitting from a warehouse complex outside Monterrey, Mexico. Not just a warehouse. A command center where rogue tech engineers were steering America's destruction from behind computer screens. Operation Shadow Strike. Quick poll: do you think autonomous vehicles make us safer or more vulnerable to criminals? Drop your answer below. The mission had two objectives: neutralize the ghost convoy without civilian casualties, capture the architects before they could destroy evidence or trigger failsafes. At exactly 5:03 a.m., the assault began on two fronts. Front 1, the highways. FBI teams didn't shut down the trucks. They lied to them. Using GPS spoofing, they fed the autonomous systems false coordinates, convincing the AI that it was still cruising toward distribution hubs when, in reality, each truck was being steered into kill zones, abandoned military airfields, decommissioned industrial complexes, isolated desert basins. In Nevada, Truck 04 rolled onto a defunct Air Force runway. Hidden tactical teams emerged from the darkness with high-energy EMP pulse weapons. Crack! The electromagnetic pulse vaporized the truck's central computer in milliseconds. The dashboard went black. The massive rig shuddered, groaned, and died, a 42-ton steel corpse smoking in the desert dawn. 19 trucks neutralized. 61 tons of fentanyl secured. But 8 trucks had detected the anomaly. They went into fail-safe mode, shutting off external communication and navigating on pure sensor data. And they were already entering America's most populated cities. The city siege. New York, Chicago, Miami, Seattle, Phoenix, Dallas, Boston, Atlanta. 8 rogue AI trucks, now operating as feral machines, threading through morning rush hour traffic. You cannot shoot them. One bullet piercing the trailer releases an aerosol cloud of fentanyl that could kill tens of thousands in minutes. You cannot ram them. A 40-ton unguided missile in Midtown Manhattan is a mass casualty event. You cannot hack them. They've severed all external connections. So how do you stop an enemy that can't be reasoned with, threatened, or controlled? You trap it in its own logic. The mobile cage. Question for you, if you saw a truck surrounded by unmarked SUVs on the highway, would you know you were watching a federal takedown? Comment yes or no. FBI tactical teams deployed mobile containment corridors, essentially building invisible cages around each truck using heavily armored SUVs. On the West Side Highway in Manhattan, 14 black SUVs merge around the rogue semi. They don't try to stop it. They suffocate its sensors. Every autonomous vehicle is programmed with a prime directive: preserve human life at all costs. So the agents forced a choice: keep driving and guarantee collision, or execute emergency shutdown. The SUVs closed in. Inch by inch. 6 inches of clearance. 4 inches. 2 inches. The truck's AI began screaming in code. Front obstacle 8 inches. Left obstacle 5 inches. Right obstacle 5 inches. Collision probability 99.7%. Fatality risk certain. The machine reached its breaking point. Hiss. Pneumatic brakes locked. The emerald dashboard lights flickered once, then died. The truck sat silent in the middle of the highway, defeated by its own programming. Within 40 minutes, all 8 urban threats were neutralized. Hazmat teams in Level A suits swarmed each vehicle, extracting 25 additional tons of fentanyl, bringing the total seized to 86 tons. The largest synthetic drug bust in American history. The Midnight Raid. But the FBI wasn't done. Not even close. While the trucks were being secured, a joint FBI-ICE Mexican Special Forces strike team was already moving on the source. Target: Warehouse Complex, Industrial Zone 7, Monterrey, Mexico. Time, 3:17 a.m. Objective: capture alive. The architects were worth more than any drug seizure. The building looked abandoned from the outside. Rusted corrugated metal. No lights. No movement. Inside? A state-of-the-art narco command center that would make Silicon Valley jealous. Boom. Breaching charges detonated simultaneously on 4 entry points. Flashbangs turned the interior white. But when the smoke cleared, operators didn't find gunmen, they found 15 engineers in designer hoodies and glasses, frozen at their workstations. These weren't sicarios. They were recruited from top tech universities, offered $500,000 salaries to optimize logistics systems. Most didn't even know they were working for the cartel until it was too late. One man, known only as the architect, lunged for a master terminal. His finger hovered over a red button: scorched earth protocol. One keystroke would wipe every server, destroy all evidence, and potentially trigger self-destruct sequences in the remaining truck systems. An ICE agent didn't fire his weapon. He fired a cyber taser directly into the terminal. ZZZZZT. The hardware short-circuited 1 millisecond before the command could execute. The architect was slammed face down on the cold floor, his reflection staring back at him from the monitors that seconds ago controlled death on a continental scale. The hall. Inside those servers, investigators found something even more disturbing than the trucks. Digital blueprints for autonomous smuggling. Operations in 34 countries. Recruitment lists of 200+ Silicon Valley engineers. Financial records showing the network had generated $2.3 billion in revenue over 22 months. Route maps detailing vulnerabilities in every major U.S. bridge and tunnel system. This wasn't just a drug operation. It was a hostile corporate acquisition of American infrastructure. Let me ask you, how many other legitimate companies do you think have been quietly taken over like this? Drop your guesses in the comments. The aftermath. 6 months after Operation Ghost Protocol concluded. White heavy checkmark 97 drivers arrested, most cooperating witnesses, now in federal protection. White heavy checkmark 15 narco engineers facing life sentences in federal Supermax facilities. White heavy checkmark $2.3 billion in assets seized, including Continental Logistics Group. White heavy checkmark 86 tons of fentanyl destroyed, enough to kill 43 million people. White heavy checkmark 31 distribution hubs dismantled across 19 states. But here's what should keep you awake at night. Continental Logistics wasn't the only one. Federal investigators have since identified 11 other major logistics companies with suspicious Ownership patterns. The investigation is ongoing. The new battlefield. Congress fast-tracked the Autonomous Security and Supply Chain Protection Act, mandating biometric authentication for all commercial autonomous vehicles, real-time federal monitoring of high-capacity freight systems, mandatory kill switches with government override capability, criminal background checks for all engineers working on autonomous commercial systems. But here's the hard truth, and I need you to hear this. The war on drugs is no longer fought at borders. It's fought in server rooms, boardrooms, and on the highways you drive every single day. The cartels aren't using guns anymore, they're using spreadsheets, algorithms, and our own infrastructure against us. Security isn't about walls. It's about code. It's about sovereignty in the digital age. So here's what I need from you right now. 1. Did this story change how you see the trucks around you? Comment below. 2. Do you think autonomous vehicles make us safer or more vulnerable? Let's debate in the comments. 3. If you found this deep dive valuable, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to understand what's really happening in America's supply chain. 4. Subscribe to IC and FBI Files and turn on notifications, because we don't just tell stories, we expose the invisible wars being fought for America's future. Every week, we bring you cases that redefine what national security means in the 21st century. Cases the mainstream media won't touch. Operations that are still classified. This is ICE and FBI Files, where we don't just report the news, we decode the battlefield. One last question before you go: what case do you want us to investigate next? Cybercrime? Human trafficking? Networks? Corporate espionage? Drop your requests in the comments. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. And remember, the biggest threats are the ones hiding in plain sight. We'll see you in the next operation.